Hi guys and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Wanda Rasiwera and today's topic is going to be very personal, at least for me. So I was thinking about something and I was like, you know what, let me actually create a video about this. Maybe it can help someone, because ultimately we want to achieve financial freedom together, okay? So, for some of you who do not know, I turned 30 last year, okay? So towards my birthday, the only thought I had was just joy, celebration, peace, and love. That's all that I was thinking about. And I'm glad a friend of mine actually forced me into a birthday celebration, which I'm glad I did because it's one of the happiest thing that I've ever done for myself. So yeah, that's what it was. I never really thought about what it meant to turn 30. Okay. So I'm not the type of person who will actually attach goals to age. I don't normally do that. I normally set up goals and do the time frame of those goals based on the resources that I have. Not necessarily to say when I'm this age, I should make sure that I have this, right? However, as I settled in onto my 30th, I started thinking about how do I want the next decade to feel like? Okay. How do I want it to be? Okay. So as I was thinking about it, I was like, let me put a skeleton together to give me a sense of direction and reference point as I navigate this next decade. Okay. So as I was thinking about that, the financial aspect of things kept on coming back because I realized that there is a lot of decisions that needs to be made, smart decisions that needs to be made for you to actually be comfortable in your 40s. Okay, so this is when I started thinking, how maybe this is the time where I need to think about my age, because somehow the person that you are in your 30s is a lot more serious person than the person you were in your 20s. Maybe because your 30-year-old self doesn't depend heavily on your 20-year-old self, right? Whereas your 40-year-old self depend a lot on your 30-year-old self, right? So as your 20s, I think you're figuring out things. And when you get to your 30s, you're just glad you arrived, and all of that. But when you're 40, I think there's a lot of things you need. There's a lot of things that needs to be in place already that you should have done in your 30s that are needed, are must have, right? So hence today I want to talk about, 5 things that you need to make sure that you have before your 40s, before you reach your 40s. So the reason why I'm thinking about these things is because I believe in your 30s, there is a lot you can change about your life. And really, to be honest, if you do not put structure in place to make sure that these things happen, unfortunately, it's going to be tough. Really, it's going to be tough. So hence I am making the video and I'm talking about them, and hopefully you will think about the way in which you want your 40s to be, and how can you influence it now as you are in your 30s. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 5 only, and yeah, hopefully we can talk about some that I might have missed in the comment section as well. Just make sure also you subscribe, guys. Watch this video also until the end. That's the only way I get paid. Okay, so let's go to number 1. Number 1, we have make sure that you have income generating assets. Okay, so I think as we move from our late 20s towards our 30s, a lot of people do acknowledge that they do need to have their own house, their own car, and then they are working towards that, and it makes sense. Okay, we cannot forget that property or housing is a need. Okay, so people start accumulating assets by then buying a house, and then people go also as far as buying land as well. Yeah, people then start expanding, right? But as you do so, I want to remind you to also look into asset generating income generating asset. And the reason why I'm saying this is because as you grow, it might not be direct from your 30s, but as you grow towards your late 30s, towards your 40s, cash becomes king. You having money becomes so important. you having like liquid money becomes so important, and hence I'm saying income generating asset. You need to be able to have money because responsibilities start coming through. Everything requires money just to breathe. It costs money, so hence it's very important for you to at least have income generating asset. And I say this because as you approach your late 30s towards your 40s, you will find that your salary is already committed on other things, and it's probably like sitting at a very averaged level. Like there's not much growth you are seeing in that salary. So hence it's important to get salary elsewhere so that you can relieve the pressure that you are experiencing within your 9 to 5 income. Okay, so it allows you to not only survive but to start thriving, and that's what I wish for ourselves. For me, when I look into financial freedom, that's one of the things in which I think about, right? As 1.1, I want to say that also consider to look into passion-driven businesses, right? And the reason I say passion-driven businesses instead of just businesses is because when you do a business that is linked towards your passion, it comes at ease. You are happy to resolve problems that are associated with that kind of a business, right? It doesn't mean that problems won't come, but you will happily resolve them. You will have the energy to resolve them, right? And also you can start to figure out if this business is generating enough income for you to retire later. There are people who say, I want to retire early. So if you want to retire early, you want something that will be giving you money when you're retired, because by the mere fact that you have retired doesn't mean that you don't have expenses. And at the time in which you're 40, you probably have adopted a certain lifestyle. So you want income that then can sustain that kind of lifestyle that you have adopted, right? So income generating asset will help you with that. And also business that are patient driven will help you with that, especially when you want to retire, because then you will then retire and do something that you're passionate about, which I believe is something that would be a lot more fulfilling, right? So 2 ways in which you can think about getting an income generating asset could be through rental from property, or it could be through dividends from shares. These are not something that you can wake up in your 40s and say, hey, I want continuous income, passive income. I need to say funny passive income, Tina. Guys, if you're watching until here, please give me a people heart, because now I'm get turned the passive income. Okay, but it's something which you build, and as you're going through your 30s towards your 40s, let's try to make sure that we are intentional about that, so that as we get into our 40s, we know how much we get from the dividends on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, but at least you know that, okay, for me to go on vacation, I'll wait for my dividends. As it comes to my salary, then I will only sustain my family. I hope that makes sense. Okay, number 2, this one is an interesting one. It's socioeconomic connections. Guys, you need people. You really need people. It's very sad that when someone is going through tough times, they don't even know anyone who they can ask for things, right? You're going through a divorce, you don't even know a family lawyer who can help you to understand what it means. Or you're even getting married, you don't even know a lawyer you can consult to help you to structure a contract that is favorable for both of you. Guys, let's know people, and they don't have to be your friends, but they have to be within our network, because as we grow, life happens. Some of the things are inevitable. People are gonna die on the way, sadly, and that's the things that happens when you're going to your 30s and 40s. We start losing people, unfortunately, and you want to know what estate planning is. So get to know lawyers, get to know financial planners, get to know people who are relevant to life, right? And you have to know these people beforehand, because you need to understand their level of expertise before you can even go and consult. You really need to know these people. Make it a habit to follow the right people on social media. Make it your goal to meet people for coffee, buy them coffee, understand what they do, understand what it means, and it's not that you're planning for failure. You're just equipping yourself to know things that are relevant for life, and we need to know these things because we're going to need them. And this is something that I believe, as people who live in the city, we do so badly, because back at home, people have a community. We know Mang is a police, Mang is a teacher, Mang, and everything that is applicable to teachers, we ask them. When are results coming, we ask them. And if it's a police, even when there's a breakup, when there's a break in, we kind of reference to say, what does this mean for our community type of thing. And that's what I think we should be doing in our 30s as we go towards our 40s, for easiness of life, and they don't have to be your friends, but they need to be in your network. One thing that I've realized for myself personally is that in as much as my circle of friends is becoming smaller, I am happy with my network. My network is growing, and is growing in the way in which I want. So that's another thing that you can think about. Right, on number 3, we have retirement plan, guys. As young people, this one we're not prioritizing. This one, hi guys. Like, I actually, on my mentorship, on my masterclass, I actually asked my mentees, Uti, like, how much do you have on your retirement or your provident fund, right? Guys, a lot of people don't know these things. I remember even my mom, when I asked her, like, how much are you going to get for your pension? She's like, yo, I don't know, but I'm waiting for the letter. Guys, these is things that we're supposed to know, because it's your hard-earned cash. A portion of the income that you're supposed to be getting on a monthly basis is allocated towards your retirement. And that retirement is what you get towards the end. It's not lottery money, okay? So really make it a habit to understand how much are you currently contributing towards your retirement. Is it enough? In alignment? Is it in alignment with where you want to be as you retire? And I want to challenge people who say that they want to retire early, especially in their 40s. How are you contributing towards your retirement and your income generating asset to achieve the lifestyle that you have adopted now when you retire, right? There's 2 ways of retiring. 1, you can retire into your own business. 2, you can retire and not do anything at all, right? If you're planning on retiring into your own business, you should have a proven business idea already, right? So that the transition is smooth, because a lot of times people retire, take the retirement money, and then go start a business, and that business fails and they lose literally everything, right? That's not how we're going to do it, because Angititina is smart, right? So we're going to try to make sure that the business is proven while we still sebenza. And then when we retire into businesses that are working, and then that they can sustain us. So if you're retiring and you're not going to do anything at all to generate income, maybe look into like income generating assets, because at the end of the day, expenses are not going to go anyway. If you're already driving Range Rover and it's not paid up, really you need to think about how you're going to sustain it. Even if it's paid up, the fuel that it takes for you to be able to live, the food that is needed, everything else that needs money will still need money. And if money is only going out and is not coming in, trust me, it will finish. So let's be intentional about how we're planning for retirement. See a financial planner, guys. See a financial planner. Let them do some calculations for you and tell you if you can retire at the time in which you think you're going to retire, especially if you want to retire early. As young people, guys, let's think about whether we want to compensate for the retirement plan that we have at work. If it's not enough, maybe open a retirement annuity for yourself. If it's not growing in the way you want, maybe contribute more on your own on retirement annuity and invest in the assets in which you feel that can grow, especially if you have the education that is going to inform the decision you make on what to invest in. Okay, so that was number 3, young people in your 30s to be able to be comfortable in your 40s. And when you retire, please make sure that you take retirement seriously. And here's my last point on retirement. Unfortunately, the best way to plan for retirement is to contribute early, is to start early, because when you are young, you have time on your side, you have compound interest on your side. And that is the best way to make money. Because if you contribute later, your money that you contributed at a later point will not have time, will not have compound interest, right? So that means that it will not grow as much as it would have if you had contributed it when you are much younger. So it's not necessarily a smart idea to say, I'll think about it later when it comes to retirement, because the retirement needs to take time and grow in that particular fund. Okay. So going into number 4, and a very, very sad one, is health insurances and health plans, right? As we are becoming 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds, there's one thing we cannot deny, especially if we're not making a point for us to live a healthy lifestyle, is sicknesses. Sicknesses will definitely come, guys, and unfortunately medical bills are the most expensive bills. There's nothing as sad as a person being discharged without them being cured or without getting treatment simply because they didn't have medical funds. It's a very sad world because it's a capitalist world. Unfortunately, if you don't have the funds to pay for medicine, they say medicine or hospitals are a business, and they're in a business of making money, so they cannot cure people for free. So imagine if you could change someone's well-being by paying using a health insurance. Wouldn't you do it? Especially if it's someone you love, like your mom, your child, you would want to do it. So those kind of things become very important as we become 30s, as we become 40s, because also our health, like I said, if you're not very serious about looking after yourself, deteriorate. All right. And also you have kids whom you love. You have a lot of people depending on you. You have your parents who you love, who depends on you as well. So really, let's make sure that we have good enough coverage that will allow us to cater for people whom we love and ourselves as well. Right. And also let's make sure we take gap cover, because sometimes you have this health insurance and it pays until the time where they say it cannot pay. Right. I've had a lot of stories where they say a medical insurance is being depleted, or medical cover has been depleted, and this person should be discharged. That is a very sad story, and we should be embarrassed about ourselves about that, guys. Like, imagine discharging someone when you know they still have treatments that they need to do. So let's even take gap covers to mitigate for when the cover is depleted, so that people can get the best medical opportunity they can get to live a healthy life. Okay, so that's one thing that becomes important as we are going into our 40s and we're thinking about retirement. Okay, number 5, educate yourself. And I'm going to start with financial literacy. Okay, so I find that when people are in their 40s, they start panicking and becoming desperate. Ne? And then this is where they get scammed, because when you're desperate, people will offer you things that sounds lucrative, but they're only a scam, right? If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true, right? So educate yourself in your 30s so that the decisions that you make, because you don't have time to take a lot of risk. Your risk appetite as you grow becomes low, because then you have responsibility. You have no time to waste any money at that particular time, because money is needed, really. So educate yourself. Talking about financial literacy here, educate yourself about how things work, about how insurances work, about OTP when you're buying a house, about every single thing. Educate yourself about the things and the decisions that are needed as you go through your financial life. Okay, retirement plan, how does it work? When do you get taxed? What is tax free, what is not, and so forth, all of that, right? So start thinking about that. Okay, think about those things so that you can make informed decision. There's nothing as sad as someone saying they've been scammed, but you find that they just chose the wrong product. So if you're watching until here, guys, please give me a red heart. You guys are the people. You are the people. I actually need to give you a gift. If you have watched until here, please send me a DM and I'm gonna send you airtime to recoup your data. Guys, please send me a DM on Instagram at zonda_nana. Okay, so I was still saying, educate yourself. Make sure that you are equipped. If you don't know, it's very important to actually consult, right? Find an advisor, find a planner. And hence I said you need socioeconomic connections, because you don't just need an advisor. You don't just need a planner. You need someone who you know, and you know how credible they are, and if they have integrity or not, because you don't want people to sell you things for the sake of selling things. So you need to be building those relationships, because they're going to be so important as you grow. Okay, that was number 5, but I think I have 2 more, and let me give you bonuses, right? Let me give you a bonus. You also need an emergency fund. A lot of emergencies are going to happen, including emergency for medical bills, right? Build your emergency, build it gradually in your 30s. Make sure that you have a good enough emergency in your 40s, preferably 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses. You're probably going to be retrenched, Some of the things are going to happen. You need money to give you sanity, right? You may not need money to make you happy, but you need money to make you go through the things in which you're going through without your mental breakdown, right? For an example, when people are retrenched, the thing that actually dragged them to go and apply for another job is the fact that they don't have money. Because if you do have money, at least you can navigate yourself and you can still eat. So the idea of going and approach another company to seek for employment becomes much more easier. Okay, number 7, this is an additional one, right? Start thinking about education fees of your children, right? Because schools are becoming more and more expensive and the fees increase on an annual basis. So when you do your calculation, incorporate inflation in there, right? So the sooner you start, it's like retirement. The sooner you start to save for your children, the better it will be for you. You won't need to contribute too much on a monthly basis if you start as soon as they are born, right? So that's it from my side, guys. There's a lot that we need to be thinking about as we go through our 30s and we are approaching our 40s, and so that we can retire comfortably and financially free without thinking too much about money, because the idea is that we are able to live our lives doing the things we like with the people whom we love without considering our finances. Goodbye, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers.